The original inhabitants of Australia are called Indigenous Australians, who settled in Australia nearly 45,000 years ago. British colonization didn't take place till 1788 when they first arrived. In this presentation, I will show you the early traditional life of the Indigenous Australians, what happened when the European settlers came and how they were affected by it, and lastly the traditions and rituals they have kept or tried to maintain over the years. The Indigenous Australians were known as semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers. Each clan had its own territory from which they made their own living. An Aborigine, Tom Dijkstra, even said, "We cultivated our land, but in a different way from the white man. We endeavored to live with the land. They seemed to live off of it. I was taught to preserve it, never to destroy it." In the past, the Indigenous wore very little or nothing at all when it came to clothing. When it was cold, they would wear kangaroo or possum skins, mainly covered themselves in ochre and animal fat. They did, though, wear bracelets, headbands, and necklaces made from materials such as shells, bones, animal teeth, claws, and bits of feathers and furs. Knowledge of the land for them was connected to their fantastic tracking skills based on the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. With their ability, they were able to track down animals, be able to identify and locate edible plants, and even find places where there was fish and water. The 26th of January is known as Australia Day and is a national holiday. This is also the day in 1788 when Crown Colony of New South Wales settled at Sydney Cove by Captain Arthur Phillip. In 1835, the proclamation of Governor Burke was issued, and they said the land only belonged to the British and no one prior, meaning all people found occupying the land without authority would be considered illegal trespassers. Initially, relations between the Europeans and Aborigines were hospitable, but it turned hostile once the Aborigines realized the Europeans were trying to mess with their life and land. Between 1710 and 1810, some clans took resistance against the English colonizers. Even though British settlers intentionally wanted to get rid of the indigenous people, they also had a hand unintentionally, which led to the death of many indigenous people. This was through the contact with the settlers because they brought with them many diseases including chickenpox, smallpox, typhoid, measles, and influenza. The Aboriginal people had no immunity to these diseases, leading to a rapid decline of the indigenous population. A new approach to Aboriginal affairs by the Europeans was known as the protection policy, but this only further destroyed them. This was another attempt to civilize them. Traditional life was eroded and the indigenous people had to depend on the government and the church. By the 1930s, a policy of assimilation was beginning to emerge. Assimilation was meant to integrate Aboriginal people into white society by forcing them to live the same way the white people did. They also had to have the same beliefs and values as the white people. By now, seeing any sort of original indigenous culture was rare. The most unfortunate result of the assimilation policy was that it led to many children who had to be forcibly taken from their families and placed into foster care or group homes. These children are what we now call the stolen generation. From a census in 2006 by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, it is said that now only about 5,400 Australians out of the 20 million population practice Aboriginal traditional religions. The rest mainly practice Christianity or have no religion at all. 455,031 people, or 2.3%, is identified as being of indigenous origin. Between 2001 and 2006, population of the indigenous increased by 11%, or 45,000. Only 56,000, though, can speak an indigenous language. Australian culture is taught, and the information is available to all in present day. It is shown through art in museums, media such as pictures and films, and books and texts. Government schools teach to recognize and value the significance of Australia's indigenous culture and peoples. We have watched many videos and movies on the Aboriginal culture and life, and this was through the production of media. Media and text is the main way people have learned or learn about the Aboriginal people and culture. 10 Canoes I thought was an excellent way to learn about the daily life of the indigenous people. Ritual ceremonies involving sacred sites, dance, body painting, and even sports still continue to be practiced. Recently there have been indigenous festivals like Stompin' Ground, Yepernai Dreaming, Burunga Festival, Laura Festival, Narla Knockout, Coming of the Light, Searike Istafad, Nidok, and Reconciliation Week. When Kevin Rudd publicly apologized to Stolen Generations, this was a big deal. He said he was sorry for the profound grief, suffering, and loss. This statement was greeted by a standing ovation at the end. The Prime Minister used the word sorry 3 times in a 360-word statement. Some of the things he said he was sorry for was the removal of Aboriginal children and the indignity and degradation thus inflicted on a proud people and proud culture. A welcome to the country is a ceremony where traditional owners, usually elders, welcome people to their land. This can be a speech or even a traditional song and dance with the didgeridoo. It is often considered as a right, not a privilege. The Aboriginal think the welcome to the country is an act of generosity. Some politicians, though, have voiced their concern, saying the acknowledgement of country is an empty gesture. Warren Mundine, an Indigenous business leader, said, "I think it's fantastic to do acknowledgement of the country ceremonies. 10 years ago, we weren't even acknowledged." I hope that after watching this presentation, you can recognize all the hardships that Indigenous people had to go through to get where they are now, which is slowly but surely getting their culture back and making it known to Australians.